Hello everyone, my name is Seth, and today I'm going to give you my review of Furiosa. Furiosa is the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, and I think Fury Road is probably one of the best action movies of all time. In this film, we explore the character of Furiosa all the way from childhood to adulthood. I was so incredibly excited for this film. I love Fury Road so much, so I absolutely was not going to miss this movie. I would have personally given my money to George Miller himself. So I am happy to say that this film did not disappoint. But before I go any farther, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. We are only 15 subscribers away from 200. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, and it'll absolutely make my day. First things first, I want to go ahead and get out of the way. I do not like this film as much as I do Fury Road, but that's okay. Fury Road is an incredibly tough film to stand up against. I mean, quite honestly, it's just about impossible to live up to. Saying Furiosa is not quite as good as Fury Road is like saying, hey, I made a meal at home, but it's not quite as good as a steak personally prepared by Gordon Ramsay. It's like, well, yeah, of course. You're not going to get much better than that, and honestly, you're not going to get much better than Fury Road when it comes to action films. With that being said, though, I do love Furiosa. This is an absolutely wacky and incredible action film that I don't think you would regret seeing on the big screen. As you might have guessed, the biggest calling card for this film is action. The action is why you come to this film, and it does not disappoint at all. This film just feels like it was made by a crazy person, and I mean that in the best way possible. George Miller has such an incredible sense of direction, especially for these Mad Max films. When it comes to action, he's just a genius. His fingerprint was on every single second of this film, and you can absolutely tell, and I absolutely love it. The action is absolutely incredible. Every action sequence was so good and memorable. I was on the edge of my seat throughout basically the whole film. It's huge and it's over the top in the absolute best way possible. But I think one of the things that's important in this film is that you're not just having action just to have action. You don't have an action sequence just because you look at your watch, oh, it's about time for an action sequence. Every single action sequence helps to move the story along. Each action set piece is narratively important to the film. And personally, I think that's how you do action. You make the action mean something. The action, whether it be on foot or in a car, is incredibly fast-paced, and it has an abundance of energy to it. But they do something in this film that they also did in Fury Road, which I think is genius. It's absolutely perfect for this kind of action. They're able to keep the action right in the middle of the screen. There might be a ton of things going on, but they keep your focal point right in the middle of the screen. They keep what's important, they keep what's essential to the action, to the story they're telling, in the middle of the screen, so your eyes are not wandering from shot to shot trying to figure out what's important. Because the action is so fast-paced, so energetic, this just makes everything flow so incredibly well because you know exactly where you need to be looking at all times. They make it easy for you. I loved it when they did it in Fury Road. I love it when they do it here. I'm surprised that more films haven't at least tried to do something similar to this. I understand it's very difficult, takes a lot of planning, takes expert cinematography, so it's a lot of work. There's probably only a few directors that can do it. George Miller absolutely can, but I am surprised that more films haven't at least tried to imitate it a little bit. The cinematography and the editing here just work hand in hand with everything else in the film, and it just helps elevate this film and take it to another level. Even outside of the action, the camera is always doing something interesting. There's very interesting shots. The composition on every single shot is very well done. There's so much visual storytelling here. You need it because it is a little light on dialogue and story. But this film just shows the power of visual storytelling. Show, don't tell. And even though we're in the desert for this whole film, basically, they make it interesting. Just the way it's shot is just very pretty at times. And honestly, I would say this is just some special filmmaking. I would have loved to be on set while they were making this. Like I mentioned, there's not a ton to the story here, but it is a revenge story that they do very well. This is a revenge movie with a couple of different layers to it. I appreciate that, and I love that they were able to do that. Honestly, it's some of the best revenge storytelling I've seen on a film. There's different levels to it. There's layers to the revenge story. And in my opinion, I think it resolved in a very, very satisfying way. I think even though there wasn't a ton of story in Fury Road, I think there was a little bit more story there than there is here in Furiosa. So even though I loved what they did with the revenge story, I wish there was a little bit more depth to the story as a whole. I also feel like they probably could have told this story in a little bit of a shorter runtime. This film is almost 2.5 hours long, and I kind of feel like they could have cut maybe 15 minutes out of it. I just feel like it could have been maybe even tighter and more efficient film. Another strong part to this film, though, is the performances. The performances really elevated the characters. There's not a ton of character depth in the majority of these characters, but their performances all throughout the cast really help just elevate everything. I would have liked to see a little bit more depth to some of these other characters other than like Furiosa. But of course, you're here for the action. You're here for just kind of the craziness of it all. And also, like I mentioned earlier, in this film, we get to see Furiosa from childhood to adulthood. Young Furiosa here is played by Elia Brown. She did such a great job here. She's able to hold her own, and she stands out against these kind of larger-than-life characters. Adult Furiosa was played by Anya Taylor-Joy, and the same goes for her performance as well. Furiosa is probably the most normal of all of these characters, but still, Anya Taylor-Joy finds a way to separate her character and make her character stand out from the craziness of the rest of the world. She brings depth to this character just from her performance alone. She brings this intensity and an emotion to this role. Both of these actors find a way to portray Furiosa at these different stages of her life. And they do such a good job because from young Furiosa all the way up through Charlize Theron's version in Fury Road, it all feels cohesive. It all feels like the same character. So that's props to both the writing, the directing, and the performances. For me, Dementis is absolutely another standout performance for Chris Hemsworth. We really haven't seen anything like this from him before. He plays this just completely unhinged and pure evil villain, and it's so much fun. It's just such a fun villain. You absolutely want Furiosa to get her revenge. He's so intense at times, and his performance is just one of the standouts, one of the best parts of this film. And I would go as far as to say that this is probably one of his best performances of his career. He has this monologue at one point during the film, and my eyes were absolutely glued to the screen. It's just so good. And if you've just only seen him as Thor, trust me, he is so much more than just Thor. He is an incredible actor. And I love that we get to see just a different kind of performance from him. He's just truly phenomenal. The score in this film is another standout to me. It is done by Tom Hogenberg. He has a very unique style to his scores. His scores always have a ton of energy, and it works hand in hand with the action here. The score does everything it can to match the action. It's big, it's loud, it's over the top. I don't know how many times I'm going to be sitting around at home just chilling, listening to the score. However, this is absolutely going to be a great score to listen to while driving to and from anywhere. I'll go ahead and say it'll probably make any drive just a little bit better. Overall, this is just flat out an incredible action film. It has some really memorable performances as well. Maybe it's a little bit too long. Maybe we could have had a little bit more depth of the story and maybe some of the characters. But with that being said, this is still one of the best revenge stories I've ever seen. You come for the action, and it absolutely delivers. It's amazing, and it's over the top, and the cinematography, it's just top notch, and this is just a really special film. Unfortunately, so far in its first weekend, it hasn't really done too well at the box office. So trust me when I tell you, you're going to want to see this film on the big screen. Go out to your local movie theater, get a ticket for Furiosa, and just sit back and enjoy the experience you're about to have. This is the kind of film where it's an experience, and you really want to see it on the biggest screen possible. I'm going to give Furiosa a 4.5 out of 5. But that's it. That's my review of Furiosa. Have you seen this film? Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know, did you think this stands up to Fury Road? Did you not like either film? Again, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can follow me on social media. Keep up with me outside of YouTube, pretty much anywhere, at CinemaSeth, and I'll see you next time.